Is it on?
How do you guys want to do this?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Here, I better grab.
What are you doing?
I better grab a piece of paper and a pen.
Why?
We could just take
You
turns
can just,
and
yeah,
like
let's just take
just
turns.
talk about our interview.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Do you guys want me to just tell somebody to do it to make it
Sure.
easier because we
Yeah.
all have different lines? Okay.
Don't we have to?
Kayla, do you want to start?
Yeah, I would love to.
Oh, and then you can say your name at the beginning. That way we introduce ourselves as you start.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, I'm Kayla Martin. So I've kind of told you guys before about the nonprofit organization that my parents started here in our community. So I interviewed my dad. He's the founder of the School of Life Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that goes into local schools and helps children, kind of like the question asked, where families are failing or where they're lacking, and helps them to develop character skills and to get on track to graduate high school. So what led him to organize the School of Life Foundation in the first place was actually that he wrote a book about, it's called Achieving A's in the School of Life. And so the A words, there's 10 A words, of just a few of them are attitude, align, associate, always, as in always remember God, things like that. And he went around the country speaking and sharing this book. And he just noticed that a lot of youth were like responding really positively to his presentations. And so then it kind of got him thinking and made him realize that he really was passionate about youth and helping them, and that he wanted to do it in a way that could reach more youth than just those who were buying this book, right? So that's how he kind of started the organization. And then he just really felt like led by God that this was the path he needed to take. So the most prevalent problems for families in our community that he has seen through this organization is really, honestly, he just feels like there just aren't enough like intact, functional families anymore. That used to be the majority, and they would kind of help the minority of kids who weren't receiving the support at home they needed. And now it just almost seems like it's flip-flopped, that most of the kids in our local schools are not receiving the support at home that they need. And so it's hard for the functional families to try to make that up for all the other kids. And so really it's just that kids are just not receiving the support that they need from their parents and from their families. So how the School of Life helps children and families is that they go in to schools and they take these kids. For any of you who like know about the school system, they call them the tier 2 kids, and it's kids who are like on the verge of dropping out of school, kind of kids who are just kind of in the middle, you know, like they're struggling, but they haven't been like suspended or anything yet. They're just in that spot where they really need someone to come in and help them. And so the School of Life comes in, and they are basically just role models to those kids. They meet with them, they help them develop like life skills and character building skills, and they also help them to get back on track for graduation. And one cool thing about the School of Life is that there's 2 trainers for each class, and there's a male trainer and a female trainer for every class. And that was kind of inspired so that these kids, most of them come from broken homes, and so they wanted them to be able to see that men and women can have a positive relationship and can work together. And that has really had a big impact. A lot of kids have actually commented on that like, this is the first time I've seen that a man and a woman can work together, and that they can have a relationship, right? And so that's been really positive for changing their perspective of families and of men and women. So I kind of mentioned this before, the organization is more child focused than family focused, in hopes that helping the children can help their families, or at least help their future families down the road. So then just a couple other questions that I added in was how others can get involved. And so the School of Life is it's spreading right now. It's mostly just on the West Coast right now, but it's spreading. So anyone can become a trainer. You just have to go through a process, and then they can volunteer in the schools where the School of Life is. Community members are always welcome to come as guests, and then to share the program with other schools and communities. And also anyone can receive the booklet that these kids go through and go through it themselves and just learn how they can improve themselves and then share it with other kids. And then the last thing, I asked why it's important for the community to be involved with supporting children and families. And he mentioned a lot of things, but one thing that I thought was interesting, because it kind of related to the chapter that we read this week, was that when we help kids in our community, not only are we helping them to become better people and helping their families, but it also ties back to helping the economy of our community. He discussed like the economic burden that's on our communities when kids are dropping out of school and not able to get jobs and things like that. And so when we support a child and help them to graduate and to thrive and be successful, that we're helping, you know, the economy where they live and also where they'll go on to live. And it's been really interesting. There's lots of studies that have been done on these tier 2 kids. And for those who are able to turn their lives around and graduate and get back on track, most of them end up being very successful, and they have a much better chance of getting a job, going to college, having a family of their own. And so this affects every aspect of their life. And yeah, that was my interview. Sorry if that was
Awesome.
long. I don't even know.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was perfect, Ashley. Do you want me to go ahead and go next?
Sure.
Okay. So mine was, I got this referral from, very ironic actually, someone from church, an older woman. I somehow mentioned that I was a marriage and family studies major in church. I don't know where the conversation came from, but she came up to me and said, oh, by the way, I used to sit on the board at this specific place. And she said, you need to get a hold of them and maybe you can volunteer, what have you. So I said, okay, sure. Well, it just happened to be that we got into this week and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can use this company. So, so the person, so it's called CASA, C-A-S-A. And let me go ahead and what I did is I interviewed Steve Ashman, who happens to be the executive director of CASA, which stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. And what I did is I couldn't get enough information from him as far as personal, and so I ended up cutting and pasting some of his information from the actual site so that I could have even more information. There's just too much to write. So, so he told me he's been working for the company for about 9 years. Again, he's the executive director, and that's within the Stanislaus area where I live. In addition to his role as executive director, he also represents over 20 children in foster care as their actual CASA volunteer. He's a credentialed teacher, and he's also a national trainer for the AVID program and a recognized expert in the field of special education law. He's trained judges, social workers, attorneys, probation staff, and and school direct staff on educational law and statutes related to these foster care. He personally told me that that's how he actually got into where he's at now, is that he started with he started actually in the school system. He did not like how he didn't like how the schools ran things and how kids are always fighting to get, or the parents are always fighting to get help for their special needs kids or what have you, and he just didn't care for that. So he stepped in. He was an advocate for education, and then he got on as a board of director, and then he moved up to the executive director. Let's see here. He says, I asked him about what he sees as the most prevalent problem for families here in the community. And he said, by the way, he was extremely passionate when I talked to him, like some of his language wasn't all that pretty for me, but he was very overly, almost like I didn't want to pry into his, I didn't want to pry too much into his personal life because maybe his background is where he wanted to advocate, so I didn't want to push it too much. But he said the biggest problems here in the community is drug addiction and mental health issues, which leads to neglect or abuse of children. And the problem is that the parents of these children may have had issues in their past, which hasn't been addressed yet. And so their parenting skills, that's right, their parenting skills are horrible to begin with, or they don't have any. And so this becomes a problem in our in our society, every society, because unfortunately they take it out. These parents take it out on the children. So he says, see, I asked him, how does CASA help children and families locally? Okay, he said that they provide every child. Okay, what they do is they advocate for the child to actually go into the court system themselves, and these volunteers go into like the foster care wherever they're staying at the time, and they meet with them, and they get a whole documentation, all the documentation, and then they meet in the courts to actually advocate for and support that child. And their goal is to provide a safe, permanent, nurturing environment for every child that's served. Let's see here. So as a volunteer, and I pulled this off the site because I thought it was pretty effective. As a CASA volunteer, you're empowered by the courts to help make this dream a reality. You will be the one consistent adult in these children's lives, fighting for and protecting their fundamental right to be treated with dignity and respect every child deserves. And so, so these volunteers go into the courtroom and present the detailed information and recommendations about the child's case to the judge. Then the judge will make a decision in behalf of the child, which unfortunately also affects the child, parents of the child. So they either get taken away, they, you know, for a period of time, get returned, what have you. It's according to the judge. So let's see, a question, do you feel your organization is child or family focused? He said it's definitely child focused. And basically these children that need the help, parents need to have to get involved by improving the child's circumstance at home. And they do this by going through a certain case plan that's designated to, a case plan's put together for them, and they're required to follow that with for 18 to 20 months of time. And if they're able to follow that case plan, they'll be able to get their children back with proof of change. If they do not, then the judge will terminate the case itself, and the child will have alternate plans in foster care systems. And some of these foster care kids obviously is till they're 18 or above. Some of them never get out of the foster care system, which doesn't seem ideal for the child, but it's better than going back to an abusive or, you know, abusive situation or neglect. He said the one unfortunate thing about this whole advocacy program is that they don't get to decide where the kids are placed or make those kinds of decisions. So these kids can actually go completely outside the area, even to another state, he said. So the purpose and their mission, the purpose of their mission is to provide advocacy service for foster care services. It's a nonprofit. They have to work. They have a workload of about 170 kids right now in Stanislaus, which to me is 170 is not a lot, but you know, I mean that's 170 kids that are either neglected or abused. There are 4 paid case managers who oversees 5 trainers, and for every 30 volunteers, there's a paid staff member. Let's see here. Okay, and actually when you go in to be a volunteer for this, the volunteer has an obligation to see the child at least a minimum of once a week or 3 times a month. And CASA will welcome people from all types of life to actually volunteer. They just want volunteers involved. And I just think, personally, I think that's fascinating that people actually volunteer. That's a lot of time. He said the average person, the average volunteer stays a minimum of 18 to 40 months, which I think that's fascinating that people don't get paid to do this. And I didn't ask, well, what they do on the side, because I'm sure it's like he does as far as he has a job on the side too. They're simply looking for people who care about children and have common sense. And then he said, as far as being a CASA advocate, you have to, these are the requirements. You have to be 21 years is the minimum age. Pass a fingerprint background check, provide a driver's license and means of transportation. You have to complete 36 hours of training, attend daytime courtroom hearings, maintain monthly contact and report to the CASA office, fulfill 12 hours of continued education each year. I wish I would have asked him more about that. He said to call him anytime, so I think I will. You have to commit to a minimum of 18 months, and then maintain strict confidentiality of case information. So these volunteers work directly with the abused and neglected children and the people in their lives. So that includes the foster parents, social workers, attorneys, teachers, medical providers, and other people. In addition to the trained support advocate volunteers, CASA program benefit from the invaluable contributions of non-advocate volunteers. So how to support this is, I was really interested because I thought, well, is it all volunteers for that specific thing? And he said, well, no, because people volunteer to hang CASA posters. They're, let's see here, they send out e-newsletters, posters, brochures, pay envelopes, stuff like that. They organize fundraisers, contact business people for donations, like food, prizes, whatever they have going on with CASA. And then, let's see here, there's a bunch of other stuff that they do, but I won't go into all of it. And so CASA, I asked them specifically, does CASA do any kind of internship? Which I thought, well, that would be kind of cool. And they said no. They said they don't do that because they want volunteers to be involved for a long period of time with the kids. This is not just one of those things, he said, that you step into for 4 months, get your education, and then move on. He said these kids are from a messed up situation anyways, and they need someone to be their mentor. They always need someone to be the mentor. CASA does get assistance for funds. They get grants. They get donations from foundations and all kinds of special events, they do all kinds of special events to help their funding. And the last thing I put down was, CASA fulfills the need of Stanislaus County, where I live, and referrals are made by the judge where the children end up. Oh, that's what he was saying. I'm sorry. I should have wrote down what I was supposed to say on that. Basically, he said that's the unfortunate thing is that the judge picks where these kids end up, as I was telling you earlier, and that's the only unfortunate thing is they wish they had more control over that. But most children are from a lower status home, and this is where he got really bothered. He goes, well, yeah, most high status families have money, but they can cover up any abuse and neglect in their home. So he was really passionate about that. So I just kind of went, wow. So, but yeah, I had a really good interview. So I'm actually looking to, I want to look into it more because that might be something I'd be interested in is actually volunteering for this company or organization, I should say, not company, it's an organization. So that's my.
Awesome. Good job, Cheryl.
Cheryl,
Sounds like you
my
really
mom
like
is a
that.
CASA. She loves it.
Does she?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it's really sad the things that she sees in the kids' situations that they're in, but it's awesome that, like you said, the volunteers can make a big difference for them. So yeah, it's an awesome
So
program.
let me just ask you then, because I actually texted him back because he said text him, call him, whenever, and he'll ask mine. The only question I didn't ask him is, or off my top of my head is how far spread is CASA? Because where are you at? What state are you in?
I live in Utah.
So how far spread is this? Like CASA?
I think it's in most states. From what
Is
I
it?
heard
Okay.
from my mom, I think so. I think it's
Okay, I was just kind of curious.
Yeah.
That's one thing I didn't ask him. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job, Cheryl.
Okay, Malia, did you want to go next?
Yep, I can do it. Let me pull it up. Mine's very short and sweet and to the point, like a total of 1 paragraph. So
Wow.
huh?
Oh, wow.
Yep. Sorry, you overachievers. Okay, so I contacted my local WIC office, and that's for women, infants, and children. The lady I spoke to, her name was Susan, and she's actually a registered dietitian and the WIC nutrition manager. She just barely took on this job, and it was interesting talking to her because when I first called, she's like, if you need to schedule an appointment, I can't help you because I'm just new here. And I was like, oh, you're actually the person I want to speak to, and I don't need an appointment. So she said that she had worked for WIC long ago before she had her children, and then she stayed home and she homeschooled them. So you can imagine how our conversation went. But we so we talked a little bit about that and about family advocacy and stuff. And so it's just like her personally, more than just her job or her career, was about family. And so I thought that was really cool that after so many years after raising her children, she desired to go back to WIC because she saw the great impact that it has on families. So my little notes that I took here, she just said that families are very important and they're the basis of the society. She said young families struggle, and she likes that the program targets people who are at risk. It's for pregnant women, infants, and children up to age 5. Anything that can be done to get children off to a good start and help the moms get off to a good start and do a better job at helping their families. The society is very stressful, and she said the role of WIC is more than just food. It's to offer positive support. I know a lot of people who I've suggested participate in the WIC program. They're like, well, I really drink milk, or that's okay. Like I don't want to mess with it or whatever. It's only valued at like $20 or whatever, whatever it is that they say. And I've been on WIC, like all of my kids have had WIC, and it's been so great just because well, my little girls drink goat milk, and so that's like $17 for a gallon. So it's been a huge help for us, but much more than that, because it, like, the pregnant women, that's initially what they say every time I've ever found out I was pregnant. They would say, okay, let's refer you to WIC. And I'm like, oh, I already know all about it. But I think it educates a lot of people, which I think is so important in our society now, because we have learned, especially like with the What Would You Do video that we had to watch this week. It was difficult because I don't know that mom, well, of course she was an actress, but I don't know if that mom really even understood like what she was doing. Like, I don't know if she understood like how dangerous that's the problem with so many people now, and especially since WIC is geared to pregnant women who really have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Because parenting is hard, and if you don't have a lot of support at home and that education and hands-on experience, then like really you don't know who to turn to for that help. So she also said that there's a lot of stresses and pressure on families everywhere. Smaller communities know each other better and are there when you need them. There's financial concerns, insurance concerns, the busyness of everything, trying to pay for everything. In our little town, Safford is a poor community. Financial struggles are always prevalent in our little area. And so I don't know how familiar y'all are with WIC, but I know that like in our offices here, they have let's see what it is. They call it something specific. The education. It's called they have nutrition education, and then they also have just like a bunch of things on like vaccine safety, car seat safety. They provide safe car seats for families. They provide high iron food. They give you all the information. There's all these little pamphlets. They give referrals if the families need them. They let you know when to introduce solids, all these different things that like to me is a no-brainer, but I realized, wow, I learned a lot of that stuff from WIC, whereas other people will be like we have it's called it's one of those Facebook group pages where mom just go on there and post different things, and they say like, when do you start giving your baby this, or when do you do this? And I'm like, wow, when would parents ever know? Like, I don't know how anybody else knows, but I just look back and I'm like, wow, I really truly learned so much from WIC. It was so great. Anyway, so that was some of that. And she just said that WIC also helps as kids are growing and have dietary needs. Like I said with my 2 littles on goat milk, they were not able to tolerate regular milk, and I don't know what I would have done if for them till they were like 18 months. So after that, I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. I guess just, I don't know. So anyway, so that was helpful because sometimes doctors just aren't so sensitive to that aspect. And so they were just really nice. Let's see. So like I said, They help pregnant women, postpartum up to 6 months, and breastfeeding mothers up to 12 months. So they'll provide just those high iron for that. And toddlers up to age 5. If you are not a breastfeeding mother, they provide iron fortified formula for your baby. And like I said, the nutrition education, car seat information. They also provide breast pumps, those who breastfeed but go back to work or whatever the reasonings. And they do support families. Any suspicion of child abuse will be reported because they're mandatory reporters. But she said that she doesn't want that to steer people away from them, because she says that supporting and promoting the families to the best of their abilities is what they're all about. And again, they can make referrals to other agencies when needed. So my little interview.
That was awesome. By the way, that was more than a paragraph.
I'm long-winded, Cheryl.
That was good. Yeah, I have a question for you. Well, I'm glad you shared that, because I was thinking WIC just had to do with food as well. I'm glad you shared that. But you know what? What did you say about the goat milk? Did you say it was $7 or $17 a gallon?
It's $17 a gallon. It comes in quarts, and it's like $5 a quart.
My word.
So, like $4.50 a quart. So yeah, $17 to $20 a gallon.
Gosh,
It's crazy.
that is crazy. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, man, good job.
Services out there to
Diapers, let alone, are high enough. By the way, do they provide diapers at all, Malia?
They don't. No, but maybe they would just like refer you to somebody, like if there was, like if there was a need or something, then they would have referrals for that. So
But does WIC
really
actually
good, like
they don't provide diapers, but does WIC cover diapers or no? No, not at all. I was just kind of curious.
Nope. And it's nice too, because I know different times that I've gone in, like our local little library would be having a little like story time. So they would read a little story to the kids that were there, and then the kids got to pick a book. And they always have like different schedules and events that, like, just with the information, that it really is just helpful. Like, it really is a great resource. I really, really love it. And I wish more people understood how great it could be, because it, like I said, it's helped me tons as a mom. So great program.
Yeah,
Awesome.
a lot of people.
Caitlin, did you want to go next?
Sure. So I interviewed, this is kind of the Lord's way of blessing me this week, I think. I had a girls' camp retreat. So the 6th-year girls all go up to a cabin before girls' camp, and we plan. So it's a stake girls' camp, but they help the leaders in delegating to all the other levels. So anyway, we go up for a night, and we just have fun and get to know each other. And I was kind of stressed about what program I wanted to interview for, and I didn't really know what was out there. And anyway, I'm gonna try not to cry. Going through what I had gone through last week, I was sorry. So I'm the assistant camp director, and the other assistant camp director is I'm such a baby, I'm sorry. She is a NICU nurse. And we got talking, and I just asked her about, I don't know why, but I just asked her about if they had any volunteer programs for women to go up and help with the babies in the NICU. And she said that they actually they just barely implemented what's called the Cuddler program. Have you guys heard of that?
I'm not.
It is the coolest thing. It's so touching. So I had seen something on Facebook about this a long time ago, and I had posted. It's about women or men who are needed in hospitals to come and hold I'm so sorry. babies that are detoxing from drug addiction in the womb. And not even just that, but it's basically any child that's in the NICU, they have volunteers come, and these volunteers hold and sing to and read to these tiny infants and cuddle them, and it's really beneficial for them because their parents, given the situation, aren't there to do that for them. And so these babies, you know, I'm sure you guys have heard of all these things where the more you tell something it's beautiful, the more you know, show affection and love towards something, it will reciprocate it. So that's basically the motive behind this program, is these cuddlers come in and they help soothe these fussy, detoxing babies. And anyway, they're all over the place, and I think it's becoming more and more of a thing because, like I said, our hospital is just like, they just barely started it. And so anyway, basically you go and you can cuddle, you hold them, they can train you. Not all hospitals do this, but the one up here, there's so many of them. It makes me kind of mad. But there's so many of them that they are actually training their volunteers to feed the babies because they are so sick and detoxing that they actually can take up to a full hour just to get a bottle in them. And anyway, so they teach you and train you how to feed them. And then you're just basically understanding the importance of the infants do need to be held. And a lot of them, some of their parents just, the baby isn't detoxing. Some of them are just premature and need to stay in the NICU, and the parents have to go back to work. And some of them live far away, so they'll call and say, hey, I can't make it down to hold my baby tonight. Can you have one of the cuddlers hold my child, so that they're getting that? So a lot of the time it's just these parents that their baby can't go home with them right away, and they're in the hospital for quite a long time. And so anyway, you're just with these infants, and they actually train you on how to calm them and soothe them. And the doctors and nurses decide when the babies are ready for a cuddler. And they talk to you about how to provide therapeutic talk and touch to them to properly soothe and comfort them. And
I'm on my interview.
Anyway, like I said, the babies that are going through the addiction withdrawals, they're really fussy and they're colicky and they're really hard to feed, and just no matter what, they're uncomfortable and they're hurting. And so rather than just laying there crying, they're encouraging more and more people to come and hold these children and try and soothe them. And a lot of them, they even at, you know, two days old, they'll read to them, they'll sing to them. And so I just kind of asked her why that's important for our community, and kind of what Kayla's, I think it was your dad, Kayla, that just said that if you think about where those children are going to go, it's important that they start now feeling loved and nurtured, so that hopefully they can develop into having a better chance at life in the community. And it's important to start at that's the foundation. And she said there's to the point where it's becoming such a problem, these children being born into unhealthy circumstances, that they're encouraging just whoever can come to just come and give whatever time they can. She said there will be days where she will be charting and holding a baby in the other hand, trying to bounce it, because there's so many of them that need love and to be soothed and to be cared for. And I asked her what some of the requirements were, and she said you'll find different requirements all over, but normally you'll have an interview and just a background check just to make sure you're a decent person. Really, like, if you're compassionate and want to help, you're pretty much qualified. You have to have I think you do have to get a TB shot just to be in the hospital around them. And what else did she say? I asked her, you know, I did some research around, and some hospitals require like 2 hours every 2 days a month, you know, but up here, our hospital at Portneuf, they say whenever you can, you just call up, there's a number, you can just say, hey, do you need volunteers today, or I can come up at this time, and they allow you to do that, and they offer you a free meal while you're there. And then they also train you how to clean equipment, like some of their little, I forgot the word she used, but basically the equipment that are used to feed them, and how to properly sterilize bottles and stuff like that, where their immune systems are so weak. And then I asked her if she ever had a hard time, like what's hard about being around that situation, if it's emotionally challenging. And she said that 90% of her time is rewarding and only 10% of it is challenging. And she said just because you're giving so much of yourself to another person, and that you're constantly serving these little babies, and you feel that bond even though they're not yours, or you know, you're bonding, your instincts are coming out and helping nurture these children in need. And she said you can even see them start to progress, and that's what makes it so rewarding. She said what's really hard is there will be parents that are verbally abusive to the nurses and the volunteers, and that don't agree with a lot of the techniques they use. But these are parents that are emotionally unstable and are struggling with their own problems. But she said that there's times where the babies like to be swaddled really tight to be soothed, and one mom called her stupid for it and ripped the blanket off her baby and threatened to like punch the nurse in the face. And it's just like, you don't want those children. So then I asked her, well, what about these children that are in abusive situations, or that the parents don't want them? And she says, unfortunately, in those situations, they sign away their rights and they just go to foster care or to adoption programs. And so anyway, it just all happened right there at the retreat. And I found myself just being like drawn to it. And so I think it's something I'm going to do.
That's awesome. You know
Yeah,
what? The
go
actual
ahead,
cuddle
Cheryl.
program that you were referring to, I don't know that. I didn't know that name, but the actual NICU, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are both NICU nurses.
Oh, really?
And so all the things that you're saying, he's actually talked quite a bit to us about it, about how you swaddle them, and they like to be swaddled because, you know, it's the womb, it's tight. And so
yeah, and
how sad it is that a mom would just do that. But no, it's, you know, they said that they do have that in the hospital. And he says, you know what, he says, you know, God bless seriously the volunteers that come in and just hold these babies, because they just need that love.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
That's awesome, though. That's something I would like to do here.
Yeah, you
should.
should.
I would love to go in there and just hold the babies, since I won't have any more.
Well, I talked to my sister about it, and she had what's called the RH factor. So when she was pregnant her first time, they didn't give her a shot to prevent the RH factor, and so she developed it and couldn't. Every time she'd get pregnant, her body would attack the embryo.
Oh.
And so she had a really hard time for a long time coping with that. And she said, I would just go up once every few weeks and hold these babies. She's like, it almost was just my fix. You know, I was able to demonstrate like my motherly instinct and, you know, and just kind of bond with these infants. But it's really hard because there are some that go through these withdrawals, and what those poor little tiny bodies have to go through, I just can't even. That's the only hard thing. Yeah, they really are fussy and hard, and a lot of them, no matter what you do, they can't be soothed, but it's still important that we try, and that they're held, and that they're touched, and that they're loved, because that will eventually help them in the long run. So anyway, I thought, you know, this is both individual and family related. And I thought it just went perfectly with this assignment, and it just so beautifully happened right there at the cabin. So anyway,
Well, at least you're smiling this week.
Oh, mercy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've been a hot mess, you guys.
Okay. I don't think so. I think you're doing wonderful.
Oh, thanks. You guys are great. Honestly, like I have a great group. Malia sent me so many nice texts. Just touched my heart. You guys are really great. Well, anyway. Next. The lights can go now. Before I start crying again.
I'm sorry, Caitlin. I really am. But gosh, you're so brave and awesome that you found that program. I want to see if I worked at a hospital for 5 years and they were developing that whenever I left. It wasn't on the ground though, but I want to see if the one next close to us has it now.
Yeah, you should look into it.
Yeah, I think I will. Thank you for sharing that. That is such a cool program. My goodness.
That's awesome.
So the one I don't know if you guys have heard of the Boys and Girls Club. It's for our house, and I thought, oh, that'd be cool to look into. So I talked to the lady that runs it, and she actually and she grew up in the foster care system, and that's what made her want to work with kids as she got older. She said that her greatest desire was to help. And she said while talking to her, she said it a few times. I didn't actually ask that question, but she said the main thing that she found with that was the problem and with children in general is dysfunctional families, kind of like what Kayla, her dad, found, and what Cheryl found too. I mean, that was one of the things that this lady said that because what love is it kind of sounded like to me that it was a latchkey, but a lot more intensive. She said the whole role of what they do is the after school programs. They'll usually have kids there after school until their parents come and get them, and then they do stuff on the weekends. They have things going on in the evening almost every night. They have like game rooms for the kids, but the main goal is to do projects and things that help the kids develop, or help all the youth, because you can be up to 18 to be there. Youth develop life skills. So some skills are like just communication. For some of the younger kids that their parents don't necessarily teach them, or they're not catching on to communication skills, they'll have a teacher come in, and they don't have classes, but they have like on hand or a hands-on type of instruction, like where they just talk to each other, and they'll go out and they'll do community projects. Like the lady said that they just did a gardening thing where they planted a garden. Teenagers come from poor backgrounds because they accept government programs or government funding. So a lot of the kids, the parents don't pay for it; it's free for those parents that have like what's it called, the housing.
Title 9 housing.
Yeah,
Something like that.
the government housing.
Yeah.
People that have that. Yeah, HUD. That's what it is. You're right. Those kids can come for free, and that's a lot of the kids they get in the area. So what did I add? Okay.
You talked about.
Yeah, so the main thing that she said that they focus on is building life skills for the children, and they always try to invite the parents out for the activities because of what they've noticed is that parents kind of just separate themselves from their children for these programs. So they try to get the parents out by enticing them with like free dinners. And they actually, at the end of March, they have this big thing going on at the college. And they try to get college kids to help these other younger kids. And they're doing a big play with them and have a big dinner for the families. Try to unite the families and try to build and help develop those skills that can help these kids teach their mother and father if they need to. Budgeting and things like being responsible with their belongings, things like that. So it's a really cool program. That was basically everything that we talked about. We only talked for like 5 minutes, so
She was busy.
yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But still, yeah, it was really cool.
I know so many kids that have loved the after school programs and stuff because their parents work so late, and it's been such a blessing to them. I think it's so awesome that they came up with that.
If you think about it, it really develops so many skills. Like even some kids that don't have a lot of friends at school, because it covers all of this area, not just one school district. So St. Louis can come over to this if they need to.
I've actually heard of that program online. Maybe it was one of my other classes that I researched online or something like that. So I've actually heard of the program. I've just never heard of it as far as you know, describing it or whatever else. So that's interesting.
It's really neat, and they don't limit it to just after school. They do it on the weekends too. It's all the time, and it sounds like kids are always there because each time I talked to somebody yesterday and they couldn't talk, so I talked to somebody today. They were so loud because there were so many kids playing. So it sounds like there's always something going on.
So is it an actual building that they have designated for this, or is it something that they take in schools too?
The one here is an actual building. So it's and it's huge. It's one of the Victorian style buildings that were built because where we live is a really old area. So building, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it used to be a Catholic orphanage, and they converted it to the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It is cool.
Huh.
All right, I guess we're done.
Well,
do we have to? You know what?
Oh, do you want to?
You know what? Did everyone state their name? Because I think we kind of lost that at the first round. I'm sure.
I'm Caitlin.
Kayla said hers.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I'm Spencer Lloyd.
And I'm Cammie Lloyd. And although my interview fell through because the person never called me back, even though they said they would, I was going to interview someone from the Boy Scouts, and because I used to work there, I know quite a bit about it. So I'm just going to talk really quick.
Okay.
The Boy Scouts organization is there to help families mostly. They're there to provide programs to help teach boys, not just outdoor skills, because a lot of people think like the Boy Scout organization is all about going outside, but they teach them how to talk to other people and what physical exercise does and how to take care of animals and plants and all kinds of different things. They really try to involve the parents in the organization and try to help their children develop those qualities. I got involved in the organization mostly because I was looking for a job, and my mom happened to hear about one. But the person I was going to interview, her story is that her son was in Cub Scouts, and she helped him go through most of his scouting, and she really saw the need in the area, and she became a professional that went out into the less fortunate community and provided the Boy Scout and Cub Scout program to those that really needed it. They did it as like an after-school program, kind of like the Boys and Girls Club. And she about how much of a difference she saw in those boys because they were go and get out of those communities that aren't so great, participate in an organization that teaches them some really good life skills. The most prevalent problem in the community is, like everyone else has said this whole time, dysfunctional families. Like when your family isn't whole and isn't doing what they need, then it's going to mess kids up. That's about it.
So do we have to do any kind of wrap up at all, like going through and just mentioning what everyone did? Not like detail,
That'd be too much.
Or no?
I didn't see anything about doing a 5-minute wrap up.
Yeah, I didn't see
anything
either.
Awesome. Then I guess.
Spencer, I missed your thing. Did you say it's the Boys and Girls Club or YMCA that yours was on?
Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, well, it's interesting because there's a family here in our homeschool group, and they send their kids there. Like the dad's a stay-at-home dad, and he's the one that does the schooling for them while the mom works. But he takes his little guy over there to the Boys and Girls Club so he can just interact and like hang out with those other boys and make friends and stuff. And so that's another
That's
great
cool.
aspect as well that I thought. I was like, wow, I never thought about that. But that's a great way also to incorporate those other kids in there too.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Okay, so
maybe that's a wrap, huh?
yeah, I guess we're done. I'll stop the broadcast.